Hello everyone, this is Ketish here. In this video, I'm going to go through the AQA Biology Combined Science Foundation Tier Paper 2 from 2024. Now this paper is 1 hour 15 minutes long and it has 6 questions. Now question number 5 and 6 are higher tier questions which appear as questions 1 and question 2. So in this video, I'll be going through questions 1 to 4. And I will link those videos for questions 5 and 6 as separate videos from the higher tier paper. So let's have a look at question number 1, which is on the topic of inheritance, variation, and evolution. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disorder. Cystic fibrosis affects the movement of substances into and out of cells. Which part of a cell controls the movement of substances into and out of the cell? That would be the cell membrane. Cystic fibrosis is caused by a recessive allele B. What name is given to an allele capital B? That would be dominant. Lowercase is recessive. Which term describes the genotype capital B lowercase b? That would be heterozygous. Two people plan to have a child. Both people have the genotype capital B lowercase b. Complete figure 1 to show the possible genotypes of the child. So this should be lowercase b. This box is capital B lowercase b, capital B lowercase b, and lowercase b and lowercase b. What is the chance that a child of these parents will have cystic fibrosis? Now, it's a recessive allele, isn't it? So let's read that again. Cystic fibrosis is caused by a recessive allele B. So if it is recessive, then it means you need both these alleles. So you have a 25% chance because it's 1 in 4. An embryo can be tested to find out its genotype. What is the name of the testing process? That would be genetic screening, or simply called screening. Inherited disorders can be caused by changes in DNA. What is the name of a change in DNA? That would be mutation. Inheritance is one cause of variation in a population. Environmental factors can also cause variation in a population. Suggest one environmental cause of variation in a human population. Do not refer to inheritance or to change in the DNA. You could also say diet. Can actually help to cause variation in a population. You could also say behavior or infection as well. Question number 2 is on the topic of homeostasis and response. Figure 2 shows some organs and glands in a human body. Label the glands in figure 2 using these words. So this is the pituitary gland. That's the adrenal glands. And this bottom one is the ovary. Cells in the pancreas detect blood glucose concentration. What type of cells detect blood glucose concentration? That would be the receptor cells. The pancreas produces insulin. How is insulin transported from the pancreas to the rest of the body? Through the blood. Which organ is a target organ of insulin? It is the liver, usually liver and the muscles. Which chemical is a store of glucose in human cells? That would be the glycogen. 3 people each ate similar meals. The blood glucose concentration of each person was recorded for 80 minutes after the meal. Figure 3 shows the results. So you have person A with the solid line, solid and a dot. Right? This is B and this is C. Okay. So person say blood glucose concentration increases by a massive amount, up to about 11 units, whereas person C, the blood glucose concentration is only going up to about, starting from 5, it increases by about 1.6. Okay, right. So what was the change in blood glucose concentration in person A from 0 to 60 minutes? 60 minutes it was the highest, so at 60 it's 11, so it starts at 5, so that would be 11 minus 5. So 11 minus 5 is 6 arbitrary units. Describe the trend in the relationship between blood glucose concentration and time after the meal. Now the blood glucose concentration increases in all three. The blood glucose concentration increases, then decreases after, in all of them it's actually decreasing after about 60 minutes. A student concluded person A has diabetes. Explain how figure 3 supports the student's conclusion. You should refer to insulin in the answer. Person A has the highest blood glucose concentration and it's not actually going down, whereas B and C, it's not actually increasing that much. It's not shooting up because insulin is actually working, and it actually drops more in B and C than in A. So person A has the highest blood glucose concentration because there is less insulin produced by the body. Or you could say the body cells are not responding. We don't know whether it's type 1 or type 2. Describe 2 ways a person with type 2 diabetes could change their lifestyle to control the diabetes. Now, type 2 is where the body doesn't actually respond to insulin, which means they have to do something with their lifestyle in terms of what they actually do day to day. So one is eat less carbohydrates, lose weight by exercising. That brings us to the end of question 2, and let's have a look at question 3, which is on the topic of homeostasis and response. Students used a reaction test card in an investigation. The reaction test card can be used to test the reaction of car drivers. Figure 4 shows the reaction test card. Reaction score 5 is too slow, 1 is super. Okay. Suggest why fast reactions are important for car drivers. Fast reaction means they would take less time to brake or to steer. So reactions take less time to steer or brake. and they can also, which helps to avoid accidents. Students investigated the effect of number of hours of sleep on reaction time. The student used the reaction test card shown in figure 4 on page 11. Figure 5 shows the test used. Student A, they have the reaction test card. Student B is dropping the test card. So you usually, this also actually required practical that you need to know about reaction time. You usually drop a ruler. Here you are using a reaction test card, which is actually a bit simpler. This is the method used. Record the number of hours of sleep student A had the night before the sleep. Student B holds the lower edge of the card level with the top of student A's thumb. Student A holds their thumb and forefinger slightly apart, with space for the card to drop. Student B drops the card. Student A catches the card as quickly as possible. Record the number shown in the top of student A's thumb. Repeat steps 1 to 6 with 7 other students, okay? Draw one line from each type of variable to the example of that variable in the investigation. The control variable is number nearest top of thumb when student catches the card. Could be, but I would start with lower edge of card with top of thumb. That is actually the correct one. So dependent, number nearest the top of the thumb. That's a dependent variable. Independent variable is the number of sleeps, hours of sleep. Figure 4 is repeated below. A student said, it would be better to use a ruler showing millimeters instead of the card on figure 4. Why is the student correct? Students are familiar with the ruler, but the card is new. Students have very few. Student may catch the card between scores. That would be correct. Figure 6 shows the results for the 7 students. So reaction score, you're getting 3 for anything below 7. If you have 7.5 hours of sleep, your score is between 2, 3, and 4. And if you have 8 hours and 45 minutes, you have a reaction score of 3. Okay. Student A had 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours and 30 minutes of sleep, and a reaction score of 3. Okay, so 8 hours and 30 minutes is over here, and they have a score of 3. That would be A. The mean number of hours of sleep for all students was 7.4. What was the mode for the number of hours of sleep? Mean number of hours of sleep for all students is 7.4. The mode value is the most common value, that is at 7.5 hours. We have 3 readings, so that's 7.5. A lower reaction score means a faster reaction. What is the effect of increasing the number of hours of sleep on reaction time? The reaction time actually, what happens? It stays the same. So with less or more, it stays at 3. So reaction time stayed the same. Suggest 2 ways the students could improve the investigation. Do not refer to using a ruler in your answer. You could do a whole lot of things. Repeat, carry out repeats. For each student to work out a mean value rather than doing it just once. Repeat on different days. You could also say, I'm just going to read out a couple of other things that you can say rather than writing it. You could say repeat with wider range of sleep times, or repeat on a larger number of students rather than just 7 students. Control the age or the sex of the students. Control the distance between the thumb and the forefinger, or even use a computer or a phone for the reaction timer. Question number 3.8. Motor neurons are involved in reactions. Figure 7 shows a motor neuron. So you have a motor neuron. Explain one way the motor neuron is adapted for its function. Let's write this. It is long to carry impulses from the central nervous system, which is the spinal cord, to the effector organ or muscle. That would actually give you the 3 marks, because this gives you 1 mark. It is long, the reason to carry impulses, right? Those are the 3 marks. You could also say, let me use a different color, has many branches. That gives you a mark. Again, to carry impulses, gives you another mark. To several muscle cells, that gives you the 3rd mark. Question number 4 is on the topic of ecology. Figure 8 shows an evolutionary tree. Species are, you've got jaguar, lion, leopard, snow leopard. Which species in figure 8 is most closely related to the lions? That would be the leopard. Oh, did I miss a question? No, thought I missed a question. So that is the leopard. Tigers are most closely related to snow leopards than to jaguars. Draw a line on figure 8 to show the evolution of tigers. Label the tiger. They're more closely related to snow leopards. So since tigers are more closely related to snow leopards than to jaguars, I would draw it there. Label that as tiger. In fact, you can actually draw it anywhere between these 2 points. What is represented by species R on figure 8? A species recently evolved from jaguars, now a species that may evolve in the future, a species that the other species evolved from. Complete the sentence. Evolution occurs by the process of natural selection. Species can become extinct. Give 2 possible causes of extinction. That's also a long list of possible answers. Drought, or ice age, or global warming, any of those, but you can't write them as, because they're all to do with the changes in the weather. Volcanic activity, or asteroid collision. You could also say new predators, competition for food, competition for mates, new diseases, lack of habitat. Any of those two will be fine. Fossils are used to study the evolution of some species. Suggest one reason why fossils are used to study evolution. Well, we can't actually study the species if the species is extinct. If the species is extinct, we will have to use fossils. Or you could also say evolution is usually slow as well. Some bacteria have evolved to be resistant to penicillin. Penicillin is an antibiotic. How has the process of evolution produced bacteria that are resistant to penicillin? So write the stages A, B, C, D, and E in the correct order. The first stage has been done for you. Variation in the population of bacteria is caused by mutation. And it should follow mutation for resistant is passed on to the offspring. Before that, the population of bacteria is exposed to penicillin. So that would be B. I say that as 1, 2, and the bacteria with mutations are most likely to survive. That would be 3. The mutation for resistance to penicillin is passed on to the, before that it has to be E, and then finally C. New antibiotics are not likely to control the spread of bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics. What are 2 reasons why? Antibiotics kill all types of bacteria. Not true. Antibiotic resistant bacteria will continue to evolve. That's true. Bacteria reproduce very rapidly as well. Yes, that is correct. Now, question number 5, as I said at the start, is going to be question number 1 in the higher tier paper, which is on the topic of ecology. So I will attach them as separate videos to the end of this playlist. And it's to do with quadrats, estimating population sizes, and then question number 6 is on the topic of ecology about growing crops. And this should have the 6-mark question. There you go. About genetic modification of crops. That brings us to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Click on the playlist to watch the last 2 videos. Thanks for now. Bye for now.